Good? Okay. We'll call this meeting to order, and it is a public hearing meeting. A record of attendance. Linda, you're good with that? Any declarations of conflict of interest? Approval of agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Thank you, Deputy. Second by Councillor Dawes. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And we're at the business portion. And the business portion is to enter into a development agreement with the town for a 4-dwelling unit building on Lot 2 Argyle Street to concurrently amend the land use bylaw to extend the Argyle Street collector classification to Ellis Road and to concurrently amend the existing development agreement at 187 Argyle Street to remove provisions for Lot 2 as outlined in the planner's report. So what happens at a public hearing is we just open it up to the floor. If anyone in the public would like to speak to that, I'm going to ask, because Caroline's here, did you want to share anything first, or that's up to you?
Sure. So Jim mentioned that we have people here who are who would like some information about this item. So I think it's okay. I'll just introduce what's happening there.
Certainly. Can you speak? We just can't hear you very well.
Is there a way to move it down?
No,
Might not be on.
just take it out altogether.
Okay, wait, I'll just talk louder. Okay. So we have an application for a development agreement for the property at 187 Argyle Street, Lot 2. So that's right on the corner of Argyle Street and...
Is it Ellis?
Ellis.
Ellis Road?
Yes. And it's right next to a senior's home. So this is an application from Ocean Breeze Estates. The property is currently zoned low-density residential, so it's intended for 1 to 2 unit dwellings. And Ocean Breeze Estates is looking to put 4-dwelling unit building on the lot. And the intention is to rent it out to units rent out the units to seniors for low-income housing. As part of the development agreement, we've asked that Ocean Breeze Estates maintain the, there's a really lovely, I don't know how to word it, there's like a brick wall along the property that's historical and part of the property, and some really nice vegetation. So as part of the development agreement, we've asked that they try to maintain that as best as possible with this development. We've also asked that they look at creating a certain percentage of the facade that faces onto the street in an interesting fashion, so make sure there's doors and windows and different elements, so it's not just a wall against the street. So that's the application that's before us this evening. As part of it, we will have to extend the collector classification of Argyle Street up a block to Ellis Road, and this won't change anything with the road itself. It's just looking at it as a street that collects more traffic, which it already is classified. It's just moving it up a slight bit. So with that, I'll open it up and I can answer any planning related questions.
Good. Okay, so I will ask 3 times if anyone from the audience would like to come speak, and if you wish to do so, you come up to the microphone and state your name and your address for us and speak right into the microphone, because we're recording, and just in case we need to go back. And this is not, council doesn't discuss at this point. This will come to a council meeting tonight. So would anyone in the audience like to speak to this? Welcome. Oh, sorry.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Ryan, and I live at 194 Argyle, so that's directly across from the Ellis Road.
Okay.
And we just had a couple questions, me and my husband. We do live in a high traffic area right now, and actually, if somebody was probably to do a study, 95% of the people do not stop at that corner. It's a very dangerous corner. They just go through. And we are wondering how a apartment building would affect that bad situation already. We were also wondering if it is going to increase the surrounding property values because of the house taxes. We wanted to be prepared for that. So those are our two main questions.
Okay. Can Caroline speak to either of those, or do you want to take a stab? Go ahead, CAO. Thank you for your questions. But you can, just in case you need to, you're free to sit there if you want to hear the answers. It's a hard seat to sit in, isn't it? Okay, CAO, go ahead.
So I'll try and address the taxation question. So the way property taxation works is, of course, the town sets a tax rate and Property Valuation Services puts a value on your property. The fact that an apartment building might be built across the street won't necessarily increase your property value, but it could, right? If lots and properties around you increase in value or more valuable properties are built, then the neighborhood might become more desirable, and potentially you could see an increase in your assessment. But just because there's a building there where there wasn't a building there before won't necessarily affect you negatively or positively. And of course, there is always the opportunity when you receive your property assessment, there is the opportunity for you to appeal your assessment each year. And that process, if you saw a significant increase in your assessment, you could go through the process and appeal. But the other thing as well is that in Nova Scotia, there is a cap on residential assessment. So if your property assessment went up by more than the Consumer Price Index, which hovers around 2%, then you would only pay 2% more, and the rest is exempt from taxation until the next year, and then it would increase by CPI again. But that cap does assure residents that your property taxes don't become too volatile. What can affect that is if you sell your property, the cap disappears, and the new owner pays 100% taxation on the property value. Or if you do work to your own home in terms of an addition, you add to your square footage and so on, that new addition doesn't benefit from the cap that was there on the existing property prior to that. So I hope that helps a bit.
Good. So the other question was with regard to the high traffic area. Is there a stop sign at the end of there's a stop sign there, but people don't stop? Is this stop suggestion? Okay, CAO? Oh, Councillor Mooney?
Yeah, plus the other thing, Adrian's right, that it's kind of flat. You gotta pull out to see coming up past that corner on the Ellis Road. It's a real hard, it's almost like it's angled in this way a little more. So
Okay.
you gotta push yourself past the stop sign to get out and to look to see what's coming. Not so much coming up from the other way on the top of Argyle Street, but coming up from the bottom end. But that is a very... It's not 90 degrees. No, it's a very interesting area. So she's right about that aspect, and I think it's more to do with the way the road's designed, or the way the road's that's been there for probably 150 years, but the way the road is compared to some of the other ones that were more recently constructed.
Okay, good. CAO, did you? Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as just two comments on that, is if there is an issue with vehicles not stopping at that intersection currently, we can refer that concern onto the RCMP, and they can make more frequent visits to the area, which might put people on a little higher alert to obey the signs. Beyond that, changing the status of it from right now, I guess, a local street to collector.
Ellis, for Argyle Street, not
Right,
Ellis.
right, but up to Ellis, right? That won't actually change any traffic patterns. What that is that in our land use bylaw, we have some rules around where you can put higher density development, and that collector status wasn't extended past Haley Road. And in fact, there's not much difference in the road between Haley Road and Ellis Road, and this simply facilitates the development. It doesn't change the rules that will apply to traffic on the road.
Does that answer your questions? Good, okay, thank you. So I'll ask a second time. Would anyone else like to come speak to this issue? And a third time, would anyone like to speak to this issue? Okay, hearing no one further, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Okay, so thank you for coming. And this is on the agenda for this evening's council meeting. So it'll come back to council this evening to make a decision. And we're just gonna, we may as well head in there because we have 10 minutes if you wanna head in there for a couple minutes and we'll be back out.